My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Gallop Out. I'm Ryan Anderson, joined as usual by Jackson Muniz. Jackson, we got the 2-day all stakes pick 5 for Preakness Weekend, not to be confused with the 2-day all dirt pick 5 that is also offered as part of the special wagers going on this year with the Preakness at Laurel Park. But we got 5 cool races to dive into. Obviously, the Black-Eyed Susan Preakness Stakes are a part of it. And we have a couple turf sprints as well as the Gallopette going long on the grass. What were your thoughts on the sequence as a whole? And then just thoughts on who, if there's a race that you targeted to kind of lean on a horse.
I mean, yeah, I think you have to if you're going to play a bet, any bet really. But especially if you're going to play the pick 5, you probably have to target a couple, either horses or races where you think you can get pretty narrow. But I thought that sequence was tough. I thought all 5 races were pretty wide open, and it's definitely one you got to make some decisions in basically every leg because those races really are that competitive.
They certainly are. You and I have some tickets for the people as we go through this sequence. I'll throw it on the bottom banner as you can see now. I have a $36 ticket, Jackson a $24 ticket. It's a very moderate for most players, I think, but we won't waste any more time. You are going to start off with a single, but race number 1, it's going to be the very one stakes. I believe one of 2 of this stake name, and I don't know why the is in there twice. Probably the horse's name, I guess, but whatever. I'm going to go 2, 8, 9 to kick things off. Jackson, though, you are going to single the 8. We covered this race as part of the late pick 5 sequence yesterday, or the all stakes pick 5 sequence yesterday on Pacific Horse Players over on the HHH Racing Channel. You're going to single the number 8, Sunna, with not Joel Rosario, with Luis Saez on board.
Yeah, rule number 1, baby. This race feels like the right opportunity to take a shot with the single, just because I don't have much interest in the 2 horses that are probably going to be taking the most money in here. That's Saturday Flirt for Wesley Ward, and that is Lost and Found for Brittany Russell now. It was Will Wadden for a long time. So on the trainer's range. I just don't think those 2 horses, I think they have plenty of questions to answer in this spot, and I just don't think they're any more likely to win than Suna is. So from that perspective, it's pretty simple. You're supposed to single the horse. That's going to be the biggest price, and that has a pace advantage in this race. And I know she has to come off Lasix. I know she has to do it on a turf course different than Gulfstream Park. But at the price she's going to be, those are gambles I'm willing to take. And if I'm right, it's going to create so much separation in this first leg from the people that are going to throw in the favorite who's going to be used on a lot of tickets.
Yeah, that favorite is one I'm also playing against. I don't see any sort of appeal there in Saturday Flirt. But I did want to use Sunna on my tickets for all the reasons that you mentioned, but I didn't have necessarily the confidence that you did to single and try and create that separation. I went to the outside as well in Luray for Flavien Prat, Miguel Clement. Coming first off the layoff, I think this horse is still trying to figure out I think Miguel is still trying to figure out what this mare is good at. She's got wins at a mile. She's got wins at 6. She's got wins at 6.5, all different course conditions as well. So still kind of figuring her out. And I think this is a reasonable starting off point. It worries me that there's not a ton of pace in here, but she's closed into a couple slow paces before. She's fired well off the layoff in the past as well. 1 win and then a solid 4th place finish, I thought, in one of the 2 divisions of the Della Rose Stakes at Saratoga. Given both of those were going a mile, this is going 5.5. The pace has to develop a little bit in front of her, but one I wanted to include because, again, you and I are both trying to beat this 5 in Saturday Flirt, who I just think is not the best morning line favorite I've ever seen in the morning. And
she just didn't show anything last time. I mean, she was terrible. She was bet decently against a good field, and she got to a decent spot and just never ran a step. So
I mean, she really only has one race that's good enough, right? Like I don't. I don't know. I don't really get it. And certainly from the pace scenario, I don't get it. So plenty of reasons for me to try and play against. The other one I want to use is the number 2 Sporting Lady for Carrie Bryan and Tyler Gaffleone. Comes in from Aqueduct. This one is entered on Saturday as well. So we'll see. Obviously could scratch out of here, but closed into a slow pace last time to finish second behind Moto Rosa as the favorite that day, but third start to the form cycle. I thought again might be get a little bit more pace. While maybe not, a complete meltdown on the front end, I thought maybe there's a chance that they go a little bit quicker than they did last time going the 6 furlongs at Aqueduct. So 289 for me and just the number 8 Sunna for Jackson. We'll go to race number 13, which is going to be leg number 2. It is the Black Eyed Susan, the feature on Friday at Laurel Park. This is where I'm going to take my stand. I'm going to take a stand with the number 3, Holly's Holiday. Jackson, you're going to use the 3 as well, and you're also going to include the 7, Jumpin' the Gun, and the 10, My Miss Mo. So we'll start with you to the far outside, a horse that I would anticipate being the favorite in a race like this, just based off those 2 strong numbers that came down at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, I would expect her to go off favorite as well. And she's the controlling speed, the potential controlling speed in this race is, even though this has a decent field size in 10, there's not a lot of horses that are going to be committed to the front end. And she's definitely run the fastest races up to this point. I don't know if I loved her race in the Gulfstream Oaks, but she did run into a horse in Prom Queen who would certainly be favored against this group and is just better than this field. So if she's able to control things up front, I think she's going to be dangerous. I do want to use her. I don't love her, but I do respect her.
And then we'll go to the inside. Jumpin' the Gun comes out of a common race for 4 of these other horses. Curious why you like this horse out of a race that kind of completely fell apart last time out.
It did, but I think for a few reasons, I think you can be willing to forgive her. First of all, it was her first race in over 4 months. It was her first race of the year. It's a race she's probably going to move forward from, I think. And I also think you can make the case that she moved widest and first into the fastest part of the race and kind of had that built-in excuse of why she was tiring late. And as I mentioned, I think she's going to move forward from that. Is it going to be good enough to win? We'll find out. I think I'm willing to take a shot with her because she has those races as a 2-year-old, those speed figures as a 2-year-old that are competitive today against this field. So if she's able to refine that form and improve off of it, I think she can be dangerous in here. I don't think she's going to be 3-1 come post time. And maybe that's not a great reason to use her in this sequence where she might play closer to 3-1 not morning line. But I do think she has a shot in this field.
No, I agree. And I like the points that you brought up. She did make that strong middle move first off the bench. She's got every reason to kind of improve now second off the layoff, and that pace did completely fall apart. And you mentioned she moved into the fastest part of that race. However, for me, it's as simple as the number 3 Holly's Holiday. Flavian Pratt links up with Kenny McPeak. This one has done nothing but find the winner's circle in her 2 starts to the 3-year-old season. Both of those came down at Oaklawn Park. But breaking the maiden by 5 lengths and then coming right back out at 21-1 and getting the job done in a stakes race. First time against winners, again going around 2 turns, and really just seems to be going the right way for Kenny McPeak. And when he gets a filly going the right way, you better watch out because it seems like this is a very intentional spot. On top of all that, you get Flavian Pratt. Pace scenario-wise, it looks like Pratt is able to have her tactically placed a couple lengths off the lead, maybe. And I think with the 2 horses to the inside, getting to the rail probably shouldn't be a problem. Getting that kind of proverbial kind of pocket trip, as you like to see. So I love the 3 Holly's Holiday in here. Certainly enough to lean on this horse, horizontally speaking. I think the pools for Black Eyed Susan Day are already open, and I think Holly's Holiday has been the favorite throughout most of it, but I haven't seen how much money is in the pools, and it's probably rather insignificant for what the final pools are going to look like. But for me, the number 3 Holly's Holiday was the one that I was going to decide to lean on. We'll keep things rolling right along, and we're going to go to race number 11 as I click all the wrong buttons here. We'll go to race number 11. It's going to be the Gallop Stakes for leg number 3 of this 2-day pick 5. I'm going to be using the 2 and the 8. Jackson is going to go 4 deep in the 1, 2, 7, 8. So, Jackson, so far we're pretty similar in what we think. We're using a couple different horses here and there. We're leaning in different directions, but we're going to start with you, the rail horse, Mara's Love, for Luis Saez and Michelle Nahai. But comes second off the bench here after a decent second place finish behind Summer and Tahoe last out.
Yeah, I liked what I saw last time from her, and I know that has the pace really hot, but it did kind of hold together for the most part. Summer and Tahoe did wire that field, and then the other horse that comes out of there is it Rival Tajik? I don't even know how you say that.
Reba.
The Grand
Just
Motion
call her
horse.
Reba.
Okay, we'll call her Reba. The Grand Motion horse was also always close to the pace. Like she's really the only one that made this kind of off the pace move, and she almost got there at the wire. And I also think it's important to just take a look at the rail settings from that day. I mean, there was like 8 horses across the track, and they had no space on the outside rail. Like it was a really tight configuration that probably wasn't going to favor closers that day. I thought she ran well in that spot, and it was her first start getting back to the grass since coming from overseas. She has had a little more time to acclimate, and if she's going to be 15-1, and if this pace can heat up a little bit, maybe, I'm not so sure it's going to, but if it does at that price, I do want to include her. I think she's a horse that's on the improve.
Yeah, if she takes another step forward to her 4-year-old season, she could be a major threat here because that race, getting back to the grass for the first time since coming overseas from Great Britain, I mean, it was certainly an improved effort. Next one, we'll go to the 2, and I'm just going to call her Reba because the full name is just much too confusing. But this is one, again, you also included this horse. I went too deep using this horse. I thought that comeback effort in the same race that we just spoke about was good. Yeah, it was up close to a pace that was fast, but again, you mentioned kind of held together in there, and I think has every reason again to take a step up for a patient turf trainer like Graham Motion. It's kind of been tough to keep her at the races from the looks of it. It's just been a couple layoff lines. Her 3 races in the States have come in different years, December to August to now April, but she seems to be good. She came into that race well. She's worked once since then, and hopefully she can take another step forward now. She's still a 5-year-old, but she's relatively lightly raced, at least over in the States. But, they thought enough of her overseas to try her in a grade 1. I thought,
a few grade ones.
A few grade 1s. Yeah, thank you. She can absolutely take another step forward here, and she should be forward. She's going to get Junior Alvarado, who, in my opinion, is a jockey upgrade, but he'll reunite from the 4th place finish in the Swanee River, going way back to December of 2024. You also used this one in your picks, Jackson.
I don't know. I didn't know what to do with her. I may end up tossing her. I loved her last time. I thought she couldn't lose that race. Couldn't lose. I thought she had a really strong chance to win. And then she got just a perfect trip, a perfect ride, and she was just 3rd best that day. And maybe she's going to improve off the layoff, but I kind of wish I saw more from her in that race. I wish we saw more from her in the Violet Stakes up at Monmouth. I mean, I thought that was a race she was supposed to win with the trip she got. So I think there are reasons to like her, but I am a little skeptical. If she's 6-1, I think maybe she's worth including in a bet like the pick 5, but I would never bet her to win.
No, betting on the win end, I'm with you. Probably not the way to go, but in the pick 5 setting, she was the favorite last time. She was 4-5, 2 back, and wasn't the favorite in there, unless it's noted wrong. But now you finally get 6-1 on a horse where we haven't seen what she can do stateside in 2 consecutive starts, where she's actually had some of that racing fitness to get, and we know kind of that's Graham Motion's MO. We don't typically think of him as a big time first off the layoff kind of runner. So it's possible that, well, yes, she did get a great trip last time. Maybe she was just a little bit flat to the board. Maybe just needed a little bit more of that conditioning.
Bless you. Yeah, and I also think it's like important to note, especially with this sequence specifically, with it being a 2-day pick 5, there's not going to be any CAW money in these pools, and these are the ones where you can afford to be a little bit more spreadier than usual, throw in a couple horses at prices that scare you a little more that you probably wouldn't typically use, just because it's going to pay so much better than they typically do relative to the parlay and relative to your everyday pick 5 that does include CAW money.
Yeah, absolutely a phenomenal point there to bring up. The number 3 Accent. You and I not using this horse in our tickets, but one I thought worth mentioning. Do you think we haven't really talked about the pace scenario, but there's not a ton of early gas. Can you see Pratt being ultra aggressive out of the gate, as we've kind of seen him be in recent months, of just kind of taking the lead with a horse that really has no business being close? Is that something that you considered when you were looking at this horse, or is this one that you think was very flat last time out? I think would be the only way to really put it.
I think I'd be surprised if she's on the lead. I don't love her in this race. I thought she was second best when she won that race at Tampa 2 back, and then I didn't think she ran that great last time at Aqueduct either. So I don't need her.
Fair. We'll keep it moving through the field. Child of the Moon, you are going to include on your tickets. This one looking to bounce back after a Keeneland effort that was a little bit disappointing, but obviously has some of those back races to get to where it makes her a major, major threat. It's just a question of can she be that consistent horse that we've seen.
Yeah, when she's good, I think she's really good. And I kind of liked her a little bit last time. And I do think she had a little built-in excuse where I can't remember if she broke through the gate or if she just went absolutely ballistic in the gate. But there was some kind of gate issue where I think they backed her out and they were thinking about scratching her. They ended up putting her back in and she ran terrible. I mean, I think anytime a horse acts up in the gate and they go nuts, it's typically not a good sign. The most recent example we saw was Rhetorical at Keeneland in the Keeneland Mile. He went nuts, lost his mind twice, and didn't run that great. And then we saw him come back last time at Churchill Downs and was back to his usual self when he didn't have those gate
better self even.
Right. So I do think that's something that you have to take into consideration typically when these horses act up in the gate. It does take a little toll on them. And I also don't think she had a great trip. She was always kind of wide that day. So I'm kind of just tossing it like it never happened. And her races before that are make her way the horse to beat. She has got a wicked turn of foot. Is she going to get the pace she needs? Not sure, but I do think she's the best horse in this race.
Yeah, I do think on her best day, she is the best horse. I don't disagree with that, but she's not one for me. She's either one that I'm either going to probably, I don't know about single just because obviously I don't have her in here, but I feel like she's either going to win or she's tough to trust, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So I'm going to try and beat her a little bit. The other horse I'm going to use is the number 8, Awesome Check. One that I thought could be forward in a race that we haven't seen a whole lot of pace from. She loves this distance, and a lot of those have come in the state of New York. But I think this is a reasonable comeback spot. I don't think it's that preppy. I think it's absolutely a target to kind of, try and come back, try and win this race. And I think all of her turf effort, she's been very consistent. I'm willing to forgive the effort on the synthetic at Gulfstream. That track can always be a little bit, kind of wonky. And she was wide in there and she just kind of ran around there. So she's had a little bit of time since then. They come in here. She gets back to her preferred surface. And if she runs back to any of her previous 4 turf numbers that she was running towards the end of last year, I think that makes her a winner.
Yeah, I included her too. I think she's dangerous and she could be the speed of the speed. She's another one that has plenty of speed figures to run back to. I mean, she's a must use, I think.
Matt McJunkin quoting me. Yeah, that was fumble.
Yeah, Matt is finally getting to appreciate my dealing with you on a daily basis. This is what I have to go through 5 times a day when talking to Ryan.
In my defense, my mouth works faster than my brain thinks. So, yeah,
just like your Ray Lewis quote about Incredible that we're going to talk about pretty soon. Was it Ray Lewis or was it Von Miller? I think it was Von Miller because Von Miller was actually at the track.
No, you said you made a Ray Lewis reference and then said it was ludicrous, and I said those are different people. And so
okay, we'll get there. But I think Matt gets the point that you just
certainly get there. Yeah, no, that was a certainly a mouth fumble, I think. But anyway, 2-8 for me, 1-2-7-8 for Jackson. We'll move on. Race number 12, the penultimate race in this 2-day pick 5. It's the Jim McKay Turf Sprint. I'm going to be going 1, 2, 3, 8. Jackson is going to be going 1-3. So once again, we're using some of the similar horses. We'll start down on the rail with Run Curtis Run for Mike Maker. Good comeback race, Jackson. I just thought needs a little bit more pace, but I thought there's a chance that he gets it here.
Yeah, and I also think he's just the fresh face in this race. You have so many horses that are coming out of the Laurel race. I think there's about 7 or 8 of them. And sometimes you just want the one horse that's coming out of a different one, and you just hope that Laurel race is just wasn't as strong as it could have been. And as you mentioned, he's been running in races that he just hasn't had much pace to chase. He's running well against arguably tougher fields too. So I think he's way the horse to beat. I do think he's going to get enough pace in here. And I'm using him. And if I was going to bet anybody to win, it would be Run Curtis Run, especially if he's going to be 4-1. I'm a little skeptical that I won't be shocked if he comes down a little bit, but I do think he could provide value, even if he's like 3-1.
I was going to say, what do you think the price is going to be on Run Curtis Run? I could see this horse being 4-1, 9-2. I could also potentially see this horse going as low as 5-2 and maybe even being one of the favorites in here just because of how it's one of those races that's very wide open from a betting standpoint, I think.
Yeah, I don't. It's not going to be a heavy favorite in here. As I said, I think sometimes when you have situations like this, just like I'm doing, where everyone's coming out of the same race, a horse like this, who's the most obvious horse who wasn't coming out of that race, becomes the main wise guy and can take a little bit more money than they typically would. But again, he's not going to be 7-5. It's going to be a very tepid choice.
Yeah, it'll be a tepid choice. But yeah, definitely for all the reasons you mentioned, one I wanted to use in here. Also went to the 2, Determined Kingdom. I'm willing to kind of draw a line through that last one. I think that he's kind of shown he's not necessarily a good first off the layoff horse. As you look to the race last year on April 19th, which was the exact same race that Michael Trombetta put him back in, he ran a very similar race and a very similar run line in there where he, had a little bit of that early gas and then just totally kind of wrapped it up and called it a day. But that follow-up race, I don't think an 82 wins here, but he certainly took a step up. And that turf course, if I'm remembering correctly, for the Jim McKay turf sprint, it's listed as good, but that thing was a bog last year. I was out there. The rain was insane. It was a monsoon on Friday, I think, when I got in, and that track was a little bit funky. So I'm willing to kind of draw a line through that, especially considering when this horse got back out to the firmer ground, he went right back to his normal top tier races. Going this sprint distance. So I did think second off the layoff, you get the jockey switch back to Jose Ortiz, I should say. And obviously I'm going to consider that a jockey upgrade over the piece of dog shit Paco is. So Determined Kingdom for me is one I certainly want to use second off the bench. I will never miss an opportunity to trash that guy. We'll go on to the number 3, Jean Valjean, who comes out of a race with a couple of the others in here, but you get Flavien Prat, first time here for Elizabeth Merriman. What do you like about this one, Jackson, as I also included on my tickets?
I'm annoyed by a couple things on this horse. I'm annoyed that he came back and ran already in the 2 weeks between that race and the stake race everyone returns from, because I thought he was a horse you could probably bet back from that stake race where he ran really well on a hot pace that just completely fell apart. And I'm also annoyed that Flavien Prat's riding, because even though it's going to upgrade his chances, this horse is going to take way too much money now to probably bet on the win end. So, I think he's a must use. He is the main speed in this race. He's gotten back to that good form. I think he's really dangerous in this spot. And it does feel, at least on paper, like there is less pace in this spot than there was in the stake race on April the 18th, the common race everyone comes out of. So going to use him, going to use the one. Don't really need to use anybody else.
I like it. I do agree. I think he's going to be the speed of the speed in here. Flavien Prat's going to take away the value on the win end, as you mentioned, but I do think from a parimutuel, from a horizontal standpoint, I should say, I still think he makes a lot of sense to include there. Certainly one I used. Last one I want to talk about is number 8, Outlaw Kid. For George Weaver, I thought that was a really strong comeback race. Obviously, he's known as a turf sprint one, and this one has fired well off the layoff in the past, but he really closed nicely over this course. He's run really well at Laurel. So I wanted to include him just because I was going 3 deep. I might as well go 4 deep. And this is a horse that I think at 5-1, you can absolutely bet back out of that last race. I know the race may be set up a little bit in his favor with them going fast for that first quarter.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
This was the best ride of Ruiz's career. I mean, he got the perfect setup. He saved every inch of ground. The seas parted for him, and he took advantage of it. And he won by a neck. I don't know. No, I don't see how he gets a better trip than he did last time. I mean, it's impossible.
That's a very fair critique. I don't really hold anything against that, because that ride was phenomenal from Jorge Ruiz. But coming back second off the layoff, that was a really powerful first up. And if he does improve, if Jorge Ruiz has found some sort of some Jerry Bailey sauce in him and managed to give another beautiful ride. First jockey that came to my mind.
Why?
And he's able to.
You've never seen Jerry Bailey ride.
I don't think I have either. I just know he's just amazing. Anyway, if he can reach into that bag one more time, as I'm just saying things here, but no, second off the layoff, I do think this horse, especially at 5-1, horizontally speaking, I think is reasonable enough to use in these turf sprints. I don't typically like to get. Go ahead.
So why are you using him and not Chasing Liberty when Chasing Liberty was 5 wide and they were separated neck?
That's a good question. He's kind of a 1-number horse. He's going to have to prove that again to me. So for that reason, I didn't use him off. I'm with you that he did get the worst of the 2 trips, and you go from Cruz to Irad, he's just going to be really low on the front end, and he's going to have to prove that he has really taken that step forward from 3 to 4, and maybe he has, and maybe he proves me wrong, but he's one where I don't think, to be honest, I've ever been on the right side of him, but he's going to be just as far back, if not farther back, than Outlaw Kid, and I don't know how fast they're going to go up front, so I'm using Outlaw Kid because I thought could definitely improve, and he's run some numbers that are consistent with what he came back to. Chasing Liberty is going to have to prove that wasn't just a fluke kind of one-time performance. So that was why I went with the 8 over the 4. All right. Race number 13. Huh?
I don't buy the 1 number performance. I think he just hasn't turf sprinted enough times, but that's just me.
That's fair. We'll find out, I'm sure, on Saturday. Race number 13, it is the Preakness. It's the last leg, the last leg of this pick 5 that we're covering. I'm going to go 5, 10, 12. Jackson is going to go 9, 10. Jackson, we'll start with you to the number 9, Iron Honor. Obviously, I know you wanted this horse to run in the Derby because you had a nice little future on him, but comes back in the second jewel of the Triple Crown here, gets blinkers off for Chad Brown.
I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I don't really know what to do in this race. I'm going to use him because I think you make the case he could be the most talented of the horses in this. What I ended up doing was I took the horse that I thought the most talented. I think Iron Honor and Napoleon Solo have the most talent in this field. I don't know about the distance for both of them, and I don't know about the trip, what kind of trip they're going to get from a pace perspective for either of them either, but I'm just hoping that one of them does. Iron Honor, at least you can kind of make the case that, he got bumped hard going in the first turn and maybe threw him off. He lost a little bit of positioning. Maybe he couldn't relax too much. That's why the blinkers are going off. I do wish he'd run better than that. And I think if he's as good as I thought he was, he probably would have. But again, at the end of the day, I just think he might be better than these horses, and good horses find ways to win races. So that's probably one of the worst cases I've ever made for a horse, but I do want to use him.
Okay, you're going to use him at 9 to 2. I will not be using him. Look, I don't know what to do with him either. He's one that's just going to have to beat me. I could see. I think I said this on Pacific Horse Players. I kind of think he's a 1-turn horse. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe he's just maturing, figuring things out. Maybe the blinkers off helps him. But for me, Iron Honor was a no-go.
You know what? I just talked myself into not using him, so I'm going to toss him. I'm going to single Napoleon Solo.
Okay, so Jackson live on the show has made an
This is why we do these. This is why we have these conversations out loud, and I can hear myself make the case for it, and I just made a terrible case for it. So why am I going to use the horse? I'm going to toss him.
There we go. I like it. So there we go. Jackson's updated ticket is now only $12. Very affordable. That's just about the price of a regular Jersey Mike sub.
That's almost the price of a gallon of gas out here. It's amazing.
Ridiculous. All right, I'll go to the number 5. Talking, something you and I do a lot of. But look, this one at 20 to 1, I got to use this horse. First time I ran Ortiz, I think those last 2 races, they've been improvements from 2 to 3. And I think he's just run into so much tougher. I mean, last time out, you run into Further Ado at Keeneland. That is kind of his playground. I think it's fair to say at this point, even though he's a good horse, I think he's better at Keeneland. And then 2 back in the Tampa Bay Derby, he ran well to be up on that pace. And that was when the track had taken a little bit of moisture. We've seen that buyer be changed once or twice now. And, he was up on a pace that I don't want to say it fell apart, but it definitely favored some off the pace runners, as did the racetrack after getting that rain, and the Puma, Further Ado, Canaletto all came from off the pace. So I think Talkin has every right to kind of meet his friends, so to speak, in here. I don't think this is the toughest field. And I think if he takes a step up, 3rd off the bench for Danny Gargan, he can complete the Good Magic Sire Triple Crown. But 20 to 1 for me was too good a price to leave off in a race like this. We're going to go to the 10, Napoleon Solo. Jackson, I don't love this horse by any means, but you made a really good case for him. I'll let you make that, and that is the reason that I wanted to use this horse, or didn't want to leave this horse off.
Yeah, this is a really difficult race, and when it's a difficult race, I usually prefer to narrow down as much as possible rather than be overly spready. And I just think if this pace falls apart and it's one from someone off the pace, I have no idea who it's going to be. It could be 6 or 7 different horses, and I don't want to just be using them all and, limiting how much I can hit this ticket for. I do think if someone wires this field, I'm very confident it's going to be Napoleon Solo on the front end. And I think when you look at all the horses that are expected to be forwardly placed, like none of them have his early speed. They just don't. They're not fast enough to keep up with him early if he sends to the front. And if they try and they're in the chase mode, like they're going to be cooked. So I think he has a really strong chance to get the best of the speeds. I think his Wood Memorial was probably better than the speed figures might indicate. And I also saw some things this morning between the buyer team and as well as Timeform. Like they're discussing bumping up the speed figure from the Wood Memorial pretty substantially. I think it was close to like 10 points. They haven't done that yet. But if they do, and all of a sudden this horse ran an 88 buyer with that pace and with all the mistraining he had going into that race, I think that was the topic of discussion that we talked about, which is why we didn't like him. He had missed a bunch of training. He was supposed to run Oakland. Just all these things were going wrong leading into that race. And I still think he ran pretty well just in defeat. And now everything's kind of gone right leading up to this race. Now he's got a chance to wire this field in a race with some suspect closers. I don't know if he's going to get the 9.5 furlongs, but if he runs like he did last time, he puts the pedal to the metal, gets everyone else off the bridle early on, gets them in chase mode, I think he's got a really good shot to win this race. And I think the best case scenario for him is to ride. They need to ride this horse like Taj Mahal did in his most recent race. Just send it. It won't be that extreme where he's going to have this 6-length lead, but it's the same idea. You got to get everyone chasing.
Run them off their feet.
Yes.
You have to run them off their feet. What would you like to see him go for the half mile if you had to put a time out there?
That doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I don't know the Laurel run up, and I don't know how fast the track is there. Like it's got to be a strung out field.
Okay. String them out, run them off their feet. You're going to trust Paco to do that. And I wanted to include that horse just because I think if there is a horse that, to your point, is going to wire this field, it's going to be him as the speed of the speed, and that can always be dangerous. The number 12, Incredible, is going to be my top pick in here. Coming out of the Virginia Derby, obviously, I liked him a little bit. After that, kind of cooled off a bit on him, but he ran fine in the Kentucky Derby, and I think that coming down the stretch, I think he lost a little bit of his forward path. I don't think it was anything crazy. I don't think it warranted any sort of deeper dive than that. But, he did get out-kicked by a horse, Renegade, who's just better. He got, he had to try and make up ground on Oselli after being passed by him on the far turn. And obviously Oselli comes back in this spot. But I thought it was a confident move for Riley Mott to put this horse in here. I thought he's kind of paired up those two speed figures. If he takes another step forward, given it's a quick turnaround, I don't think he's going to have, he's obviously not going to have as much traffic that he has to navigate. And hopefully he just kind of gets a clear run of things on the outside. And I think that there's a potential where this pace again kind of just completely melts down. And this is one of those 3-year-old crops, Jackson, where I think we're going to see a lot of these, 12 to 14 horse fields. We're going to see full gates for these, big Triple Crown races. I'd anticipate the Belmont to be pretty big too in a few weeks. The Travers, if nobody really takes a hold of this 3-year-old crop, I think it could go many different directions. But I think Incredible. I think the best is yet to come for this one. So he's one I wanted to use, and he's definitely going to be my top pick. I'll probably be betting this horse vertically as well, and just kind of keying this horse on top, trying to see if I can get that 5-1. Because I do like him a bit in here, and it's a very competitive race. I think there's probably 8 of these horses you can make a very solid case for.
Yeah, I mean, you and I disagree on this horse, but
we do.
Willing to acknowledge that if he gets the right pace, he's dangerous, of course.
Yeah. And I think there's a potential for him to get that pace. So wrapping up the 2-day pick 5, I'm going 5, 10, 12. That's Talkin', Napoleon Solo, and Incredible. Jackson, after talking himself off Iron Honor live on the show, is just going to go to Napoleon Solo. $12 ticket for Jackson, $36 ticket for me. Thank you guys for watching. I think Mikey P and I are going to do a show in about an hour and a half covering the all dirt 2-day pick 5. So stay tuned for that one. Jackson, anything else you got going on this week? Are you going to be playing in this Preakness contest this weekend?
Maybe. We'll see how today and tomorrow go, and I'll decide.
There we go. And, I won't know until I refresh the leaderboard for the first time after race 8 to see if it is updated for the first time. So we'll see. But thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. This has been Jackson Muniz, Ryan Anderson for the Gallop Out, and we'll see you next time.